guys, welcome to episode, I don't even know where we're at, 77, I think. Yeah, seems like it's going by fast. I know for Naylor, I'm like 350 ahead of you, wherever you're at now.
Yeah, 338 today, episode 338. Yeah.
And how many podcasts do you post a week?
2
podcasts a week. Cool. And how long have you been doing it for?
Well, it's easy for me to remember because I do about 100 episodes a year, and so it's 3 seasons, right? So when you see episode 300 something, that's the 3rd year podcasting, season 3. So that's just kind of a quick way for me to remember everything. So yeah, I'm going on year 4. So it's been 3 years and 30, like 3 years and change that I've been doing it.
Yeah, and you're the owner and founder of LCR Media. You also still I think you're the lawn care rookie. I don't call you that anymore.
I know.
Because you're like, we changed your name, didn't we? Isn't it like lawn care, like senior or something?
I don't know. That's why I created LCR. That's why I shortened lawn care rookie to LCR, because it was like a joke for a little while. Like, I guess like 5 years ago, like halfway into all this, I've been doing this, my lawn care business and social media. Social media came after lawn care, after I started my business, where some people start their business because of social media. Like, they're like, oh, it's a good idea or whatever. But I was just doing some research, trying to find out how to be like a professional from a homeowner. And that's how I stumbled upon the little beginnings of social media, like our mutual friend, Jonathan Batoshnik, the Lawn Care Millionaire. But so I've been doing all that, both of these things for 10 years. So about like halfway through, maybe, 5 years ago, maybe even 6 years ago, people were like, you're not a rookie anymore. Like on YouTube, like commenting on my videos and stuff, like, you're not a rookie anymore. We can't call you lawn care rookie. And I'm like, well, what the heck else am I going to do? Rebrand my whole channel? Like, am I? And then that's when I started the whole rookie for life, which, my hat here, I don't know if you can see it, but rookie for life. So that started all that, because really for me, I'm always trying new things, right? So that's what rookie for life means. Like I'm never like complacent. I want to always try new things, always learn, always grow, and be a rookie for life, like never stop learning. But I shortened it to LCR too as well. So, and then LCR Media and all that, just kind of like my graduated version of lawn care rookie, but my channel and all that's still lawn care rookie. Or maybe it's LCR now, actually. It might say LCR, but either one comes up.
Yeah, super cool. So quick backstory, how I met Naylor. We were at SA conference.
Yeah.
And I was chatting with Jonathan about YouTube, strategy, podcasting. He's like, hey, you have to meet this Naylor guy. I'm like searching all over for this Naylor guy.
And I'm just standing there in the back of the room. You just popped up like, hey, are you Naylor? I'm like, yeah.
Yeah. And you looked at your name tag, said Naylor, like, got him. So I just introduced myself to you real quick. Swap phone numbers. You said you're having an LCR summit.
Yeah.
We'll get into that. And you're like, would you like to go? I'm like, well, yeah, I'd like to go and sign up, put my credit card on file, paid for it right then and there.
I know that's that. I was like, man, I know I'm dealing with someone serious. Like, I remember telling Pajak that story shortly after. Like, he was like, how'd it go? And I was telling him, and I was like, yeah, I met Jonas Olson. They say, oh yeah, I know Jonas. I was like, yeah, he just like, I told him about the LCR summit. He's coming, and he's like, oh, cool. And it's like, he just signed up immediately while I was still explaining it to him. He was just entering his credit card number, and John's like, yeah, that's how Jonas is. That's how people in Jonas's level act. Like, they don't, labor over stuff. They just make the decisions and get after it. So.
Well, it's a shortcut, right? Like, you guys have been doing this, like you said, for 5 years. And if I want to learn, I got to surround myself with people like yourself. And, and then in business wise, you guys get to learn from me and vice versa. But I was like, hey, this guy's ahead of me. They're doing this. It's really cool what they're doing. I want to be part of that. I want to learn. I mean, that's how you level up, is just hang out with people who are ahead of you in whatever you want to learn. And that's with anything in life, right? So like my daughter in wrestling, she's ranked 7th in the state. This year she placed 5th in the state, which is super awesome.
Nice.
But 1 and 2 were at a different level. Like, it wasn't even close. 3, 4, and 5, it came down to an overtime match. She lost by 1. But it's like, okay, how do we get better? It's like, you wrestle with those 2 people all year long. They're going to make you better, right? So that the best person in the room is always going to make you better. So I agree with you. So Naylor, welcome to the show. I know it wasn't much of an introduction. We started chatting, but today's podcast is Naylor Taliaferro, right?
Almost Taliaferro.
Got it. Why don't you just tell us how you got in the industry, and then kind of take us through the journey of how you found YouTube and podcasting and bring us to that world?
Yeah. So, I mean, but before, so 10 years ago is when like I alluded to, is when all this started for me, like the second part of my life, I guess. I pressed a hard reset button on my life, literally, because for 15 years prior to that, so 25 years ago, gosh, I'm getting old. Everyone looks at me and they think I'm like, I don't know what, but they don't think I'm going to be 46 in July. So,
You're
but,
good.
but thanks. I appreciate it. At any rate, 25 years ago, I was just in retail, man. I was in retail, like just as like a part-time job in college. And I quickly, became a supervisor and just kind of rose through the ranks as the leadership team there at the time acknowledged that I had leadership skills. And I'm like, all right, cool. Like it just comes natural to me, whatever. I memorized things super easily, like policies, procedure. What I was really good talking to customers. I was really good. I was very meticulous. I mean, I was going to school for art, which is something that I don't always mention, and not a lot of people know unless they caught me saying that at some point. But I went to college for art. Like I excelled in art in high school, and I'm like, well, I guess I'll do this in college and see where that goes. Which, I mean, fast forward to being a content creator, it kind of came in handy. Like it's the whole creative mindset. But, between then and now, or between then and like the whole retail time of 15 years of being a retail, I don't really know how that applied. But I just, was really good at, visuals, like all the displays and all the stuff with like retail and clothing and making everything neat and tidy, and then leading people, managing people. So I did that for 15 years, but like life changed. I met my wife and we were dating, we got married, had kids, or had our first child. And I was just like, my life was going one way and retail was going a whole nother way. Like Amazon started taking over, online commerce was blowing everything up, and all the brick and mortar stores, as we call them, the actual physical locations were really struggling to keep up. Like, oh my gosh, we got to offer online services now and all these crazy things, buy and pick up in the store and ship it. And it was just a whole lot of extra workload and stress on the stores and the staff and all that. And so just overall, and like, I mean, we're working like countless hours, right? Black Friday was like Black Thursday, Black Friday is the day after Thanksgiving, all the big sales and all that stuff, doorbuster sales. It creeped into Thanksgiving on Thursday, where it was like, okay, we're going to open at midnight on Thursday. Then we're going to open at 10 p.m. on Thursday. Then it was 8 or 6 or like before, like the last, I literally left retail right after the holidays. And that Black Friday, I worked at JCPenney, which was ridiculously insane. And literally that Thursday, that Thanksgiving, they told us all that we had to come in and have Thanksgiving dinner there because we were opening at like 6 p.m. and we had to like make sure we were all there and everyone's ready. And it was just chaos. You had hundreds of employees, 10 different managers and, all this stuff. It was just crazy. So I'm like, what is my life coming to? And I was really in a bad place. Like, I'm kind of skimming over so much, but ultimately I got to a point in my life where I had no quality of life. I never saw my kids. There was a time when my daughter, I have 2 kids now, but early on when my daughter was a baby, she would be asleep when I left for work in the morning in retail. And then I would work late, right? I'd work like a 12-hour shift. I'd come home and she'd be asleep again because she's a baby. They sleep a lot more. And then if I left early the next morning again, she would be sleeping again. And then and I'd be really trying to get home the next day to at least be able to like tuck her in and say goodnight. So I'd go almost 48 hours sometimes without seeing my daughter like awake, and being able to hold her, touch her, whatever. And it was just really wearing on me. And that was kind of like, a few years before the end. And then we had our son, and it was just like, it was really rough. So I was really in a bad, depressed state of mind. I was really starting to self-destruct, like the subconscious was just like, okay, if you're not going to get yourself out of this, we're going to do some crazy stuff to make you have to get out of this. And I just didn't even recognize who I was. My life was completely different. My marriage was out of control. I had barely any relationship with my kids. It was just terrible. So I literally pressed a hard reset button. And the only thing I could do was lean into lawn care because I had loved being, I was the homeowner that loved lawns, always had like the best yard on the block and all that kind of stuff. And I just didn't know what else to lean into. I'm like, well, I've ran multiple retail businesses, different companies for 15 years. I mean, I have some sort of something to go by there. And I love mowing lawns and, fertilizing and taking care of the weeds and trim bushes, like all the stuff that I did as a homeowner. I know how to do that really well. Like I just need to figure out how to do that at a commercial level. And the idea had kind of flirted with me years prior, but I had never really thought it was going to amount to anything at the time until I came to this like do or die moment. And I just leaned into it. And technically I was doing it for a year part-time right before I quit. So like for 1 year before I quit, so 11 years ago, I started mowing like 6 yards or so part-time because of a Facebook post that my wife responded to on my behalf, because she knew that I kind of flirted around with the idea of, well, wouldn't it be nice to have a lawn care business one day and all that. And she knew how miserable I was and all these things. So she was like, oh, somebody is looking for someone to mow their lawn, like in our HOA. Should I, let them give me your information? And I was just like, sure. Like very reluctant, not really in the good place, obviously. But had she not done that, and had I not said sure, then you and I wouldn't even be talking today, Jonas, because who knows where I'd be. I don't know where my life would be. I might not even have a life.
Wouldn't be at JCPenney. We know that.
Yeah, I don't know. I might not even have a life, to be honest. I'm being real. It was that bad. Like, who knows? I was sick all the time, like literally sick. I haven't been sick other than COVID, and I just had a sniffle, and I had to take care of my whole family. And I don't want to go down that whole rabbit hole, but like I was taking care of my whole family, and I was just like, maybe I do it. Tested. Yep. Okay. I'm positive. Cool. But I feel like really nothing. So my whole family was decimated. So I just say all that to reiterate the fact that how stressed I was in retail, that when I left retail and started doing something that I really enjoyed, like when I did it part-time for a year, I was like, this is amazing. I'm out in the fresh air. I'm an outdoor person. I love it. I'm my own boss. I don't have to deal with all the crazy customers coming at me all the time. And, not having employees to have to manage for a little while was a good relief too. I was just like, man, this is awesome, making these stripes and all that. And I'm like, I can really do something out of this if I put my time and effort into it. So that's what really kind of started that whole shift in my mind. So then when I just quit retail, I went all in full time, and I haven't been sick since. All that stress relief, doing something I really enjoy, being out in the fresh air, all that stuff has probably all helped, getting more sleep, more regular sleep, not like closing one day till 11 or 12 and then opening at 6 or 7, like coming in at 6 or 7 the next day, and all the crazy hours and all the stress and the fast pace of retail it just wasn't for me. I mean, I know it's for some people, but it's just not for me. So it was very stressful. And then that was how I transitioned, and I just went full time into it. A lot of the stuff that you heard me talk about at the last conference that we were at, Jason Creel's event, and I was talking about route density, and all that happened in the very early years of me figuring all this out. So, me trying to figure this out, I stumbled upon the community that really even wasn't a community yet, or they didn't know they were. There's just a few folks like the Lawn Care Millionaire, Spencer Lawn Care, a couple other OGs that kind of post content here and there, but not as regularly. And they were just posting content at that time regularly. And I was like, wow, this is cool. And the same people were commenting on all their videos. I'm like, wow, this is kind of a cool little group of guys here, So I just started commenting. Well, I had to like create a YouTube account so I could subscribe and like and comment and all that. So I did that for several months, and I'm like, I want to do more than just be a commenter. Like I have a lot to say myself. Like I have a crazy kind of story, and it's part of my rehabilitation of being a better version of myself and recovering from all the trauma that I had to deal with of 15 years of retail and all that, and learning things as a new lawn care business provider, hence the name Lawn Care Rookie. I wanted people to know that I was not the lawn care millionaire. I was not an expert. I didn't have any years of experience. So I wanted to be clear that I'm just sharing my trials and tribulations with you guys, and learning from everyone that's watching, and maybe helping others with some of the things, which I did in those, the first year or so. People are like, wow, I never thought of that. Because sometimes you get really into like 10, 15, 20 years deep, and you kind of like forget about some of these. Like, you know what I mean? You kind of get,
yeah, absolutely.
You probably do, because you've been doing it for a while, and everybody, you get to certain points where you level up and you forget sometimes some of these little things, and the young bucks come in, and you're like, huh, that's a good idea. I never would have thought of that. Because you're just so busy thinking of other stuff next level. So, there was a lot of that kind of back and forth. So I had a good time, and that's kind of where that all started. And I binge watched all the Lawn Care Millionaire stuff and learned a lot about business, and and all that. So
then what made you pick up a camera? And what was your first video? Do you remember?
Yeah, I do. I just wanted to be a part of the community and start and making that content. And I just used my cell phone. I did like a trailer setup with, like just my trailer setup, and I was really, really proud of, because I had like homemade racks. Like I had like a shoestring budget. Like I had no money. Like I was just trying to figure it out just like everybody else. My wife had a full-time job at the time. I mean, she does now too, but at that time she had just started working full-time. She had done a lot of part-time as our kids were kind of growing up. And then she got to a point where she finally went full-time. Our kids were getting older, they were toddlers, teenagers, whatever, and they were in school. So she got a full-time job. She hadn't even been working it a year yet, but she had one. So that was helpful for me to be able to just quit, take the vacation time that I didn't get to use, that fortunately they pay out. Some companies, you use it or lose it. You always know when someone's about to quit, because all of a sudden they start asking for all this time off. And you're like, but this company just gives it to you, and I could hardly ever use any of it because every other weekend was like a made up holiday or something ridiculous, and all the other managers are fighting for time off. The calendar's just markers everywhere and blocked out, this and that. And it's like, oh my gosh. So I just had so much time. I think I had almost 2 months worth of my paychecks, like salary, from vacation time. It was crazy. But in this instance, it was great because it was, it was like a savings that I had without really planning it that way. So I was able to still pay our bills with that, plus, and give me the time to really invest in trying to build up a lawn care business full time, and start getting that revenue, and got like 30 something clients right out the gate, mowing clients right out the gate by this time 10 years ago, like, March. And, but then, that's when my income went down, because the, retail salary was over, the vacation time was paid out already. And then I was like, okay, it's all in here with lawn care. But my wife's salary is what helped it. Between the two of us, we were able to still maintain our bills until I got my lawn care business up to where it needed to be, and all that, in the coming years. But that's it. So I built like my own trimmer racks out of like wood, and because I'm not a fabricator, I don't know how to weld or all that stuff, so I just use wood and hooks and things from all the big box stores, and it was pretty legit, like locks and everything. And I built it all up, and I was all proud showing it, and it's one of my most viewed videos to this day. Surprisingly, people would just randomly see it, and it's so old, it's 10 years ago, and people like comment like I just put it out or something. I'm like, look at the date, bro.
Yeah, and it makes me think, like, 10 years ago on YouTube, like I just started a year ago. Like, obviously, I wish I had started 9 years ago. Did you see the writing on the wall back then? Like, or did you just like, it's just community? It looks pretty fun. Like, I just want to contribute, but it was never like, it's never going to be a side hustle or a full-time job ever. That was never your intention.
Never my intention, or even thought that was a possibility. Not even close. I was not the social media guy. I didn't have Facebook, nothing. Like, I had no idea. I was so busy just being overwhelmed with work and trying to have some sort of life outside of that I literally only used my phone to play like a random video game or something here and there, notes app, calendar, email, text, going online for stuff like research and stuff like that. That's it. Like I didn't, it was nothing. I mean, in general, social media was different 10 years ago anyway, but there was Facebook and YouTube and Instagram. There was no TikTok or Snapchat or anything like that back then, but there was, the beginnings of social media, and I just had nothing. I had no time for that. I'm like, how would that benefit me in any way? So I was clueless to all that. So once I stumbled upon the community on YouTube, that's when I started to find like some of the other things like Instagram and obviously Facebook. I mean, I created a Facebook business page. That was the only reason why I went on Facebook. My wife's like, well, you got to have a Facebook profile first, and like whatever, you have to get on Facebook, and then you can create a Facebook business page. I can help you with that, because of course my wife was on Facebook, like every housewife back then, right? That's what drove Facebook in the early days, and Farmville and all these fun little things that they would do back in the day.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, good old Farmville. My wife loved that. I was like, what is this that you're playing? Anyway, so I had no idea, so I had to quickly learn that stuff. And then our daughter was becoming a teenager, and she got on Instagram, like an older teenager. I think maybe she was like 14 or something, maybe, when she got on Instagram, whatever. And, of course, us being, parents, were all like, we got to get on Instagram now and create an account and follow her and make sure, everything's good and nothing crazy is happening and all this stuff. So, that was all my early entrance in all that. And I literally had no idea. I just wanted to stalk my daughter and be a part of the lawn care community, which happened to be on YouTube at that time. And now it's everywhere. It's this huge community. So.
And then, like, were you editing all your own videos? Like, how many were you posting? Or you posting like one a week, one a month? What was it like back then?
Wow. I mean, I did and still do most of it myself, but there's been times where I've sourced out editing and it went really well, but you use it or you lose it. So I wasn't able to keep up with the amount of content to be edited, and I was still getting charged every month. So I was like, all right, I got to take a time out for this or whatever. But the majority of the time I've always done my own editing.
And then after 10 years, you just get really good at it.
Well, yeah, for sure. But it still takes time regardless. It takes time. And I just remember recording is always the easy part. I mean, it does slow you down. Like, if it takes you, if you look at all your video clips from the day and you add up 5 minutes here, 3 minutes there, 20 minutes there, whatever it is, you add all that up, that might be hours or an hour less or more added to your day. Like, oh, I could have done an extra yard, or I could have been home sooner, or whatever. So it does take time, but you're already there. So it's a lot easier to just, you're already on the job, whether you're going to see your guys or it's just you or whatever the combination is, you're already on location, like for work. So it's like you're getting paid in a way to make YouTube videos, you know what I mean? Like, even though you're not getting paid, you know what I mean? So like that part was always easy and fun. It was finding time after a long day to come home and, you want to spend time with your family, but then you also need to edit the video or videos. So I spent a lot of late nights. I'd literally 1 a.m. be standing at my kitchen counter so I wouldn't fall asleep to finish editing a video so I could upload it for the next day. Or it was some epic stories, man. Some back in the day OG stories for sure. I don't know if it's the same way anymore. I mean, I definitely don't do that now, but I still have my challenges trying to get it done for sure.
So at what point did you say, hey, there's something to this? Like, when did you notice, like, okay, this is a game changer?
Yeah. So really the turning point was what we now call Equip, but at the time it was called GIE Plus Expo. It's the biggest trade show in our industry, and I think it's now the 5th largest trade show in the country out of all trade shows, period. It was the 6th a couple years back, but I think it went up to the 5th I read. But regardless, it's the top 10. It's a big one. But at the time, it was not nearly as big as it is now. And I mean, it's still big, but it's grown tremendous. It breaks record, attendance every year for the last several years, basically after COVID. But in 2014, basically the year that I started my business and started following YouTube and then started posting on YouTube, kind of the second half of 2014, a couple of guys on YouTube started talking about this GIE. Like, oh, this place in Louisville, Kentucky, this looks amazing. It's huge. As you can demo equipment, all this stuff. Like that's what sets the GIE apart. Now Equip is that you can demo the amount of outside area for you to demo things is just as big, if not bigger, than the indoor showroom. So that the typical trade shows in any service industry, right? In any category, it's typically like an indoor showroom and classes and training and all that. There's not typically any real outdoor things going on, especially not at the level as Equip. So all that really appealed to the small amount of people in the community at the time. And they started trying to coordinate, hey, maybe if anyone that wants to go, we can get together, maybe, get something to eat or whatever at a restaurant, have a beer and hang out. It'd be like a cool way for us to connect, like in real life, like offline, because we all know each other kind of from commenting and watching each other's videos and all that. So that's where it all started, because I went there in 2014. Or no, I'm sorry, 2015 I went, because 2014 I didn't have any money. It was all new. I was like, oh man. So I just watched the videos from the few people that went. And then the following year in 2015 was when I was like, I definitely got to go this year. And everybody at the time went, and it went from like a dozen people hanging out at this pizza place to like maybe 40 or 50 people. And it was like, wow, that's just a lot of people. And like all the people on YouTube at the time, myself included, and a lot of people knew who I was at the time, surprisingly, because I was early on. But a couple of people like came up to me separately and shook my hand and thanked me for the content that I was putting out. It helped them get up, the courage to get out of their 9 to 5 corporate job and start their landscaping or lawn care business and help them get through tough times. And that's when it all became real to me. This was the second year into my business full time, and second year posting content on videos on YouTube and a little bit on Instagram probably at that time. And I'm like, you see numbers and you see views and likes and people comment, and that's all cool. But until you go to an actual event, there's nothing like it. For one thing, the energy is indescribable. Like, you have to actually be there, undescribable. But, in addition to that, when people come up to you like that and they know a little bit or a lot about you from everything that you've talked about, and then they say how it's helped them, it's mind-boggling, and it makes it all real, and it makes it all want you to do it even more. Like, wow, people actually are getting something out of this. It's more than just like entertainment and just like being a part of the community. It's like I'm actually helping people in some different ways, whether it's helping them make a decision buying equipment, or helping them, do something in their business, or helping them personally get through some tough times. Like a couple years after that, I remember, my family went through some tragedy. My sister-in-law died of cancer, and I almost didn't go to Equip that year because she died in September, and it was like so stressful for me. And I'm like, oh, for all of us. And I'm just like, this is awful. But I knew so many people were going to be, like, I knew there was a lot of people at that time that were looking forward to me being there, and I was looking forward to being there. I didn't want to let anybody down, and I was already starting to host things and all that. And I was just like, I gotta go. But I talked about it. My whole point is I talked about it online, just to kind of get it out. Like, this is what's happening. And, I got like this Rookie for Life hat. I've got pink ones instead of white. It's pink, and the lettering's pink. And I've got my clean cut lawn care hoodie, instead of green, it's pink, and it's got a big pink ribbon on the back, and it says in memory of Liz, and which is my sister-in-law, and all this stuff. Like, I just went all in, like, to breast cancer awareness, because that's what she died from. And I talked all about that on social media. And when I went to Equip that year, it was unbelievable, because there were so many people that I had never met before that probably knew who I was before that, and just never came up to me before. But because they had a connection now, we had a connection with cancer. All these people came up to me talking about their struggles with breast cancer, or someone that they know struggle with breast cancer, or just cancer in general. And it was a whole new experience. And, there was a lot of emotions, and, even some of the brands that I started working with came up when we met. They were like, hey, we just want to say, that's very courageous, and it's, for you sharing all that, and sorry to hear all that. We just had these conversations that I just never thought would even be a thing. But so all of that really just made me realize how important all of this is. And a couple years of doing that, like I said, some of the brands, like Echo was the first one, started kind of catching on to like our little meetup that was starting to grow. And they're like, oh, this is really cool. I created a Facebook group for it and all that, called Road to Equip. And, they wanted to be, they knew about it. They asked to be a part, like they, asked to join it, and I accepted them. And then they're like, oh, can we come and give some stuff away and hang out with you guys? And that just kind of built and I was like, there's something going on here. And but literally the first year that I went to GE in 2015, we were like, had our big old cameras at the time, like our Casey Neistat, vlog setups. That was the game back in 2015. We're all like, yeah, we're all YouTubers, and we're all trying to do our thing. And all of the booths are like, sticking their hand, in our faces and over the camera and telling us to get out like we're spies or something, or just giving us dirty looks like, who are these guys with cameras? What do they think they are? And so that was like crazy. But then the next year and the year after, like all of a sudden quickly it became to where now people are paying us to come in their booth with our cameras and record stuff about their products to get it out there. Like it's complete 180. So, but as soon as I saw that change, it was all at Equip, GIE at the time. I saw brands starting to embrace YouTube and YouTubers, content creators, all that. And we started working with Echo and some other brands, and they started coming to our meetup. And that's where the change started. When some of the brands started to catch on to the importance of content creators and how we have a direct link with the end user. They're customers. Like, they're listening to our, I mean, at the time we didn't have podcasts yet at that time. They're listening to us and watching us on YouTube and Instagram and all that. Why not work with us? They're going to be directly marketing, to them. So then we're going to their manufacturing facilities, all this stuff, seeing how things are made, learning about the products, getting products to demo, all these things. And that's where it really started to shift. And that was, back in 2016, I would say. So 2014, we were like stumbled upon the GIE. 2015, a whole bunch of us went. Everyone was like, but then everyone was like hating on us at the show. And then 2016 was when things started to shift. And I literally said on a video, good friend of ours, also a mutual friend, Paul Jameson, he's like, I remember that video. Like I either said it live on like Periscope, which was a platform back in the day for live. Twitter had owned it. Live streaming. I think I maybe said it on that because I can't find the video anywhere, but I know I said it somewhere, and Paul remembers. I said, wow, I can really see a shift. I think I did make a video that social media is on the map, and I was saying how like I can see a trend here. And then and somewhere else I said, this would be amazing if this trade show, the GIE, actually like recognized the power of social media and content creators, and we started working together. And you obviously know the end story with that too, like fast forward to now. So I just, once I knew that, all of a sudden things just like started like clicking. I was like, oh, okay. And then like I just started being like driven to certain things. All these ideas would start popping up in my head, and I would start making relationships with certain brands and people and connecting people and creating things. And it just started snowballing. And everyone was like, how, like, years and years into it, which was years and years ago, someone once asked me after they met me for the first time, they were like, did you always know this was going to happen? I was like, no, but once I had that feeling, I just followed it, and it's just, the rest is history. Like, I couldn't have predicted this, but once I knew. Once I felt it, I'm like, oh, this is the right way to go. This is the path. So I've just been following it ever since.
Yeah, you're an early adopter for sure. And then was podcasting kind of the same way? You found that like early on?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of wanted in 2018, I had an original YouTube series called Get to Know the Pro, where I literally traveled around the country to different YouTubers and just other people in the community that may have had a YouTube channel with very small subscribers, or they didn't, but they were a part of the community. They followed along, and a lot of those, I would meet so many people over the years at GIE and just some other brand events and they would all tell me all their epic stories. And I just kind of got tired of telling my story, and I just wanted to find a way to collaborate. Everyone kind of told their story on their own channel, but I actually went to a YouTube event. This is not something I talk about that much for some reason, because I talk about so many other things, but YouTube actually invited me to a YouTube event in Washington, D.C., which I live in Richmond, Virginia, which we're centrally located in the state of Virginia, and we can go 2 hours any direction and go somewhere else. Like, we can go to the beach, 2 hours to the beach, 2 hours in the mountains, 2 hours up to Baltimore or DC, so we that's one of the many reasons why I picked this area after we moved from New York. But so DC was not that far away. So I was like, wow. And nobody else that I ever know of in our industry was invited to anything for YouTube. Maybe some of the bigger ones, back over the years, and they just didn't talk about it. But back then, nobody. And everybody was like, I was posting about it. Everyone was like, oh, I'm jealous and all that. I'm like, I don't know how I got invited to this, but it was like it was like, I don't know, 5 to 10,000 subscriber YouTube channels at the time or something. And I guess they had they had the same event for every different like category as you went up in subscribers. So I went to that, and that was a game changer in and of itself. I met all types of YouTubers. This is where Influencer Live, now the morning show, came from, that idea. They had a live panel. They brought in 2 YouTubers to sit in front of us, and they allowed us to ask them after they told their little bio, we asked them whatever questions we wanted. And I was like, that's cool. And they're talking about, how they do all these things. So the whole live panel thing and collaborating. And I'm like, you know what? I want to do that, for us. So get to know the pro is where that came from. So I was driving around or flying around and driving around and on YouTube, kind of interviewing people like a podcast. Like I would show, their setups and their guys working or them working, interview them here and there. We'd stop, we'd sit in the office and pick people's brains and things like that. A really good popular one was with Marvin Salcedo. That was the last one that I did. That was season 2. And then COVID shut everything down. So I haven't really brought it back. But that kind of was like podcasting, but with video. And I always thought to myself, where do I go from here? Am I just going to keep doing more seasons of Get to Know the Pro? Or because there's so many people I want to interview, but it's just only so much time and I can only travel so much. And I thought maybe like podcasting would be a cool next evolution, because then I could just get people like this virtually or at different events, and that would be cool. But Paul didn't even have a podcast yet. There was only one podcaster consistently at that time, Lawn Care Business Success, Julio Tomei, and he's still getting after it up in Canada. He was the only one consistently podcasting before it was even really cool in our industry. Just like, so Paul was wanting to podcast. So I asked him about it and he's like, yeah, I don't know. I'm still trying to figure it out. It's a lot. It's a lot if you want to do it right. Like I want it to sound good and be professional. I'm not just trying to plug in some random lav mic into my laptop and just wing it. Like I'm trying to make it like legit. And I'm like, oh man. So he kind of freaked me out because I didn't want to add any more stress and workload on me. So I just kind of put that on the back burner. So that was back at the end of 2018. So it wasn't until 2020, right? So 2024. So it'll be 4 years in November. So November 2020 was when I started my podcast. So like, because in that time frame from when I thought about it, the end of 2018. So in that year and a half to 2 years, Paul started his podcast. And Brian Fullerton started his podcast, and they both were using Mr. Producer, who's a friend of Paul Jameson from the radio station when he worked there and all that. And then I just thought to myself, well, if I have Mr. Producer do all the labor intensive stuff for me, all I got to do is record it and send it to him. It's like me. Gosh, I wish I had that for YouTube, but it's so much more complicated for YouTube. You're editing video and audio, but you need a lot more instructions there. But I'm like, still that would be doable. So that's how I got like kind of back into podcasting. I wanted to podcast back in like 2018, 2019, but I just thought it'd be too much. But then Mr. Producer came on the scene, and I sent him an email or whatever, and we got on the phone, and the rest is history with that. And I've been podcasting with that because it's just another extension for me, another form of content. At the end of the day, I love creating content, just like I love drawing and painting back in college. So like it satisfies the same creative nature in my brain. So I really enjoy, even though it's time consuming, I enjoy editing my own videos because it's like drawing or painting, and like as I'm recording, I'm kind of fleshing it all out in my brain, like how I want this video to look. Before in the beginning, I kind of did that, but I really honed that in a lot lately and learned a lot over the years. But that's really kind of where that all happened. And now it's just one more thing I can add content to, go into deeper conversations, longer topics, instead of making it quick and flashy and equipment and all that on YouTube. And so it just adds to it.
Yeah, I agree. You brought up something earlier about forgetting things as you scale up in the industry, as you get a little bit bigger. You forget about those things. Like going back to that same philosophy, now as a guy on YouTube, for all the listeners that are listening who probably have thinking about starting a YouTube channel, know they should have a YouTube channel but don't yet, what do you say to those guys? Where to start and why they should?
Yeah, well that's the thing. You have to know what your why is, for one thing. And I think it was Alan Hain that said to us on the panel, he said, just start, like all the great
Pick up
stuff.
your phone.
Yeah. All the great stuff that Jeremy, says about, title tags, like all the geeking out stuff about the algorithm and all the things of how to make your video successful. The first step is making a video, right? Like you end up not making a video when you just over, analysis by paralysis type thing. And you just go crazy trying to make it perfect, and you don't even make it. So like just get started. Like perfect example, when I first started Get to Know the Pro, like I came up with the idea, and then I was like, well, how am I going to travel around the country? Like maybe I can get like a sponsor or something. Maybe I can get like a brand to sponsor. And not a single content creator at that time, even the ones that were much bigger than me, never even, alls we were getting were free trimmers and silly things like that. Nobody was getting paid anything. We were just getting like free trips and stuff like that. That's it. So I'm the first one to have been like, hey, can you pay me for this? Like, we'll figure something out, and it was this whole thing. Like they made this whole video. Echo. So Echo was the one that sponsored Get to Know the Pro, and they made a whole video like, intro and outro that I put on all my videos and links in the descriptions and promoting it everywhere. But they paid for me, and I did it. I budgeted so well to, I put what I thought at the time was like a profit percentage into it too. Like I figured out what my expenses would be and then added some on for profit. But then I got even more profit when I would do like 2-for-1s, like two guys in the same town, or like Stanley Dirt Monkey Genetic is in Minnesota. Brian Ring, Ring Lawn Care's in Minnesota, and then Chance Daily Hustle's in Minnesota. So all three of them are in the same state, but they're kind of really spread out. Like Brian and Stan are close together, but Chance in a whole nother section. So, but I got that done in a whole weekend, so like one trip, you know what I mean? 3 videos in one trip, you know what I mean? So like I really got resourceful that way, and that's carried over with everything that I do from then on. But I started before Echo said no initially, is my point. They said no in the beginning. So I'm like, all right, cool. So then I just did it anyway. I'm like, well, I'll start with the local guys then, because it doesn't cost me anything. There's a lot of guys in my area that I know that are on YouTube and not on YouTube. Let me just start with them. Let me reach out to all of them, see who's willing to do it. And I made 5 videos. And then Echo contacted me and they were like, hey, we see you're making these Get to Know the Pro videos. Let's talk about this again. Let's revisit this idea. And then there you go, which is also the story of my progression, because there's a lot of things that's happened that way. Like Pod Row is coming to Equip this year, and they said no 2 years ago when Paul actually first brought it up to them. So
for those who don't know what Pod Row is, why don't you explain that a little bit?
Yeah. So, but Pod Row is an opportunity to get a whole bunch of podcasters together, whether it be 3, 5, whatever, like a group in a row, right, of podcasters at different trade shows or events that we can podcast. We can interview the attendees, interview the speakers, interview brands, anyone ever interview each other, all that. So it's just a great opportunity to kind of promote the event that we're at. It's like a radio show. Like, if you go to like any sporting event and you've got like a row of tables, and all the players work their way down the table and all the different radio stations or whatever. That's kind of like the philosophy is like, let's do that for our industry at these different trade shows. And like initially it was like, that would be cool if we did that at Equip, like that was all we thought about, like Paul's like, that would be a cool idea. Like Radio Row at the Super Bowl, which is now basically Podcast Row. It's all podcasting, not even radio anymore. And so we tried to implement that, but we didn't have any proof of concept. We just had like this baby little idea, or Paul had the, early beginnings of the idea, told me, and I was like, well, you tell them, like you bring it up to them. I don't want to keep being the one to, have all the ideas or talk about all these things. Like I want you guys to do whatever too, and get your time. And so they weren't about that life. So then I decided to find the opportunity at other events, other trade shows. It's like, hey, well, let's try and do Pod Row here. So Sync Live was one of them in Atlanta. We went back there again this year. So we've done that twice. We went to the huge convention in Nashville last August and did Pod Row there. And every time we get bigger and better, we get more podcasters. It looks better. We get posters and, all the different things, the whole space is built out better. The whole concept is so at Sync Live in Atlanta, it was the best of the best. We had couches, carpets, all this cool stuff. Marvin was there. Marvin Salcedo. He's like, I was almost going to take a nap on this couch waiting for you to come back. And, but so that was, and of course I take tons of pictures, videos. Everybody else is taking pictures and tagging us and all that too. But I made sure I took my own, because when it came time, like I knew it was going to be in my head, I had this vision like, all right, we're going to come back full circle. I can have this all this proof of concept now, and I can give this to Equip and be like, hey, what do you think about this now? And they're like, We get it. We get it now. Let put something together. Let's see what we can do. And now it's official. So that's the exact same thing with Get to Know the Pro was, like, so then and also I started to say all this also because, like, I kind of evolved this into a whole nother good point. But initially, when I started out, I just had I had a whole vision of how I wanted to Get to Know the Pro to look. I wanted different camera angles, all this stuff. But it was like a hodgepodge rag team situation. I had like one lav mic and one camera mic, one camera, a GoPro that had terrible audio and it was just getting old. My phone, which I always make sure I have the most up-to-date phone. Little tip, if you want to get into creating content at any level, have the best cell phone that's out there, whether it's Apple or whatever, the newest one. And every time you're ready for a new one, every couple years, get the newest one again so that you can always pull this out and have the best video possible, in your pocket. So you don't always have to have a GoPro, or because they've come a long way now, you can just use GoPros now as a vlogging camera, or a big old, regular Canon or Sony or something like that. Like, those are great too, but you can always use your phone. So I had a really good phone, but one really good camera. So I'm like, so the video, so different angles, like the video would look different. The audio wasn't consistent. It was just like a ragtag team. People were like in the comments were like giving me tips, like, great video, but audio sucks. Like, can you improve the video? Or, hey, here's a tip for you. Maybe if you try this, the audio sound, but like all these things. And I knew it all. Like, I knew it. I'm like, yeah, I know it's terrible, but I'm just trying to get it out. I'm trying to like work through it. So instead of making it perfect before video one, you could see the progression. So literally, if you go on YouTube, Lawn Care Rookie or LCR, and you go to the playlist, Get to Know the Pro, and you look at the first video, I believe I have them in order of timestamp. You look at the first video, even probably the thumbnail, it looks totally different than the last video. But if you click play on that first video, and then you click play on that last video, it's like night and day, especially if you go to season 2 and watch Marvin's video. I've got like a drone and all types of epic stuff. So like, it's come a long way, but you have to start somewhere. And whether we have, a brand sponsoring it or not later on down the road, you can still get better and you can still, work on things, and you can save some money and get a camera if all you have is your phone or something or whatever. You can, there's ways, but the point is to just get started, at least start putting stuff out there.
For sure. So you built a really good personal brand. You've been in this space for a while. For the people who want to use YouTube to grow their own personal brand, but more so their business, tell us some stories around like how it's helped your business or maybe impacted your friends' companies when they built a YouTube channel.
Yeah, well, I mean, anytime, I don't know if not everyone may know this, but YouTube is the number 2 search engine in the world, second to Google, who owns YouTube. So anytime you Google something, if there's a YouTube video or a post, but especially YouTube video, it's going to be recommended on Google. So if you start putting stuff, whether you want to be a big YouTuber or not, if you just make videos of your work before and afters, like the same kind of, like literally the same kind of stuff you see on YouTube, some of the most viral videos are before and afters. Of course, there's a lot more into those videos, but the premise is a before and after. Like, you see this overgrown lawn or bushes or the whole property or whatever, and then you see the after. Of course, the video is the transition of it all happening, the progression of it all. But for you and your business, you can just take before and after pictures, post it on Instagram, create a channel, an Instagram profile for your business, create a YouTube channel for your business if you just want to focus on promoting your business. And you can do before and afters. You can, for the video part, you can just show a video clip of a property that, like a new property that you got, property cleanup. So, look, the homeowner, just moved in and this is what they're stuck with, these bushes they can't even see out their front windows. This is what we're going to do. We're going to use this. We don't want to ruin the plants. This is a good time of year to hard prune them, cut them back, really low, and they'll fill up. Or it's not a good time of year, so we're just going to trim them up a little bit, wait till, a different time, whatever, depending on where you are in the country. Like, educate, like use that video, just like I do this for you listening and watching. You can do that for your customers, right? There's
Absolutely.
B2B, B2C, all these terms, business to customer, business to business, all these things. So you can do the same thing. And then you can have all those videos obviously on your YouTube channel, and then have that linked or embedded on your website and in your business Facebook page or Google My Business. All those things you should have for your business so that you have that SEO, that search engine optimization. So when people are searching lawn care in general, or lawn care wherever, lawn care Richmond, then boom, hopefully you'll be up at the top without even having to pay to sponsor or boost anything. You'll just have so many different ways that people can find you, or so many ways that you're out there, your work, that it's all up in the top, and then if people are searching you specifically, of course, then that's going to happen too. And then they see all these things. Oh, wow, they got a Facebook business page. They don't even, people don't say that. Oh, they got a Facebook page. They got, what is this Google thing? Oh, is it a website? Like, people think it's all a website, but it's just more, it's a bigger portfolio for your work, and it makes it easier for people to find you and kind of proof you, like see the work you've done. So if you've got reviews, which you should definitely get reviews, it's super easy when you start having customers and you get work completed and people are happy, ask them if they'll do a review, and you can send them an email of a link. When you get on Google My Business or whatever it's called now, you can, there's a link for reviews, and you can just add that to your emails. I'm sure you can do stuff like that on your website. You can do all types of ways of doing that. Facebook, you can do that, send your business Facebook page to people and ask them for reviews. And that also helps, like, the quote unquote algorithm to kind of get your name out there and get searched more and pop up, and you see all these stars that you have. And that's all going to get people to want to call you, because especially nowadays, people are all more and more all digital than they were back in the day. People are going on Amazon. They're looking through stuff. They're looking at the reviews. They're looking at all the stuff. They do the same exact thing with services, whether they're looking for a painter, a plumber, a lawn care, landscaper, pest control, whatever it is. They're trying to get social proof. They're trying to see what, who maybe they don't even know, like, who to find. So they're just searching just out of nowhere, just typing it in and looking. And that's how they decipher before they even waste their time calling people.
Building credibility.
Yeah, there you go. Credibility. Is there something to fill out on the website? I don't even have to talk to anybody. Some people just don't want to go down that rabbit hole either. So they just fill out some information and go through email way. So just do all these things, video and pictures, and put it out there on social media, and have it all linked back to your website, your business page, all that, so that people will find you and you can get more business.
Yeah, and another way that I look at it, at a high level too, is the evaluation of your company. Like, think of like a Roger Wakefield or a Jonathan Potoshnik.
Right.
How much influence that those YouTube channels had when they sold those companies. And I know that the multiple was higher just because of those two things.
Right. Absolutely.
So building the brand through YouTube, having 100,000 plus subscribers, like, it's a huge brand play. And again, it builds credibility for your business, even when you sell it. So I agree with you.
Oh, I was just going to say real quick, there's plenty of scenarios too, or situations where there have been other people that I know that they've said that they've gotten business from their Instagram, but their Instagram is more focused on us to us, but and customers find it. They stumble upon it somehow and they find it and they get business that way. So imagine if you actually focused on marketing to your customers on Instagram or wherever, just to reiterate that point.
Yeah. Before we run out of time here, Naylor, I know you're busy and I got to roll out, headed on vacation with my daughters. A lot of people want to know how to learn YouTube, where to start, what to do. And that kind of brings in the LCR Summit. And why don't you talk to us about a little bit about the LCR Summit, what it looks like, when it's going to be, and how you can sign up to go there. I've been there. It was a great time. I loved it. I learned a ton, met a lot of super awesome people there. That'll be friends for a long time.
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate you bringing that up. It's something new, but it's an old idea that is newly implemented. So there wasn't really there was no conferences really other than like the big ones like Service Autopilot and trade shows and things like that. There was no like within our community content creator or anything like that events, standalone a while back. There was Jason Creel's Lawn Care Life Conference. He was the first one. And I was, I never had gone to it, but I was like, this is a really cool opportunity. But I saw more opportunities to bring that to our community as well in a different way. Like I always had the vision of having a unique learning experience that's not the traditional sitting in a big auditorium and listening to people come up on stage one after another and trying to take it up, scribble down a ton of notes and all that. Like just really trying, just, how do we make this an immersive, engaging experience? And that's where the LCR Summit came from. I wanted to create an event, a conference, a learning event with workshops, that you can literally be coached by some of the best in our industry on, how to create a YouTube channel for your business, or if you want to become a YouTuber, content creator, how to create a podcast, or how to improve your YouTube channel and your podcast for your business and or for being a content creator, how to really dig into the nuts and bolts of your business, whatever your service business is, whether it's lawn care, landscaping, pest control, irrigation, Christmas lighting, window cleaning, pressure washing, all these things, as we know, all overlap. There's a lot of commonality. It's just the service that we offer at the end of the day is different, but we still are dealing with a lot of the same things. So at the end of the day, we can still learn from these key components, podcasting, YouTube. So it's 2 days. The first day is all about the digital, online, social media aspect of it, podcasting and YouTube, two separate workshops that you get to sit there and listen and ask questions and interact. And it's a 2 to 3 hour workshops. And then day 2 is all that the business stuff. We had Jonathan Potoshnik, the Lawn Care Millionaire. He was the keynote speaker at the last one in Atlanta, and he's coming back again in Louisville, Kentucky is going to be the next one, October 14th and 15th. That's actually the Monday and Tuesday leading up to Equip. That's Equip Week. Right there in Louisville, Kentucky. So it's really convenient if you're already going to Equip or thinking about going there. Maybe you're on the fence. This is another reason to just plan the whole week out. Don't schedule any jobs for that week. Or if you got guys that are going to stay back and do it, then that's fine. But if you're solo, kind of, rearrange your week, maybe you work up until, Saturday or Sunday before and then get some stuff done the Saturday and Sunday after. So you can, be down there Monday through Friday or Monday through Thursday at Equip, and you can participate in all that, because there's so much learning, not only at Equip and networking, but at the LCR Summit, because like I said, Jonathan's coming back. He's going to be the keynote speaker again. I remember the first thing he said to us in Atlanta was, I have a theory that you're compromising something, and then he handed us a piece of paper and said, write it down and write down the things that you're compromising, like your health, your family, profitability, like so many different things that you're compromising. And let's dig into that, and he really tried to help everyone not compromise things, like how to better run your business so that you're not compromising. And then that was a great setup for Marvin Salcido with Salcido Home Solutions, who talked about team building and company culture. And it was like an epic, presentation, 2-hour workshop. I mean, he really crushed it. That was one of the most people's highlights from that event. Then you had John Pajak. He did profits. His podcast is Profits with Pajak, but he did a budgets, break even, and bottom lines, meat and taters version. He called it. It's the condensed version, but all about your numbers, right? Figuring out your budgets, creating a budget, what's your bottom line, and your break even, all that, so that you can know what your numbers are and be profitable. So he dug into all of that. And for 2 hours. And then we ended it with Keith Kalfas with the Landscaping Employee Trap. He's huge on social media, has a really good landscaping business, wrote different books and knows all about marketing. And he just kind of immersed us into his world of marketing and YouTube and where he all started and kind of getting everyone motivated to do that themselves. Kind of like what you were asking me earlier, like, just get started and look at me. I'm running around a parking lot, on my phone, and I'm saying all these things. My truck's over there and my guys are like, what is this guy doing? And, you just got to do what you got to do. So that's the LCR Summit. Like, it's totally different than the usual. We come into a big room, sit there and just rapid fire epic speaker after epic speaker. Don't get me wrong. Those are great, but I wanted something different. I wanted another choice, another option for us to do in addition to, not necessarily instead of, but in addition to, so that we can get more learning from people that haven't normally been at like Jonathan doesn't typically go to any of these conferences except his own Service Autopilot conference. He goes to a lot of mastermind things and stuff like that, but you don't see him speaking at all these conferences. So I felt very grateful that he was willing to come and help out at the LCR Summit, and I convinced him to do it again in Louisville. So that all the details are lcrsummit.com. You can check that out, and you can register. There's only 6 spots left for the VIP dinner, which is Monday night. And the VIP dinner is with Jonathan Batoshnik, myself, and all the other presenters. So this year we've got Jonathan coming back, Paul Jameson coming back with the Green Street Podcast, doing the podcasting workshop. We've got Stanley Dirt Monkey Genetic about to hit 1 million subscribers, literally the biggest content creator in our space, in the landscaping and lawn care space. He's going to be doing the YouTube workshop on day 1 on Monday, and then day 2 on Tuesday. Again, we have Jonathan kicking it off. We got Marvin Salcido coming back to do his team building and company culture. We've got John Pajak coming back for his budgets, break evens, and bottom lines. And then we have a new one switching it up from marketing to sales. We've got Eric Triplett, the pond digger, all the way from California, big influencer over there, huge multi-million-dollar pond construction. He's also a manufacturer, has the Helix pond skimmers and a whole bunch of accessories that he created for himself because he wasn't happy with what was on the market at the time many years ago. So he's got all types of knowledge and experience, and he's just having a good old time crushing it. And he is all about sales. He has his own coaching program, his own mentorship and groups and everything about sales. So he's going to come and do a workshop on sales. So it's just going to be another mind-blowing 2-day workshop event in Louisville, Kentucky. The biggest takeaway I remember was multiple people said that they either don't take notes typically, or they only take like a page of scribbled whatever they can at the typical conferences. And they took pages of notes. One guy said he took 15 pages of notes at the LCR Summit. So because you have the time to do that, and there's just so much knowledge, and you can just ask questions and just really deep dive into the topics. So that's what I wanted. Like literally, that's what I wanted, and it all came to reality, and I couldn't be happier. So don't miss out on your opportunity for the VIP dinner, or just at least come to the LCR Summit. Early bird tickets are on sale right now. So check it out, lcrsummit.com.
Yeah, it was awesome. I enjoyed every minute of it. I know I had to bounce out early because I had to get back for wrestling as usual, but I learned a ton there. I took notes myself. I'm more of a picture taker, uploaded in my notes so I don't lose them. But yeah, definitely recommend anyone that's wanting to learn about business, especially strategies in YouTube, online, social media, things like that. Definitely you should check it out. Naylor, appreciate your time. I definitely want to get you back on here. Feels like we just got rolling.
Right. Yeah.
But again, I just want to say thanks for being here, and I'll get to chat with you soon.
Sounds great. Thank you, Jonas. And have a great, safe trip.
I'll try to. See ya.
Bye.
Hey guys, thanks for listening to another episode of Pest Control Millionaire. We don't charge any money for the show, obviously, but the podcast isn't free. You can pay for the podcast by sharing it with your friends and your family. So please like and subscribe and give us a 5-star review on your favorite podcast app. These things make a huge difference for us. If you have any specific questions you want answered about the business or your life by me or my guests, send an email to info@pestcontrolmillionaire.com. And if you want to get in touch with me about any personal business coaching, check out our website at www.pestcontrolmillionaire.com. Thanks again for listening, and I'll see you guys again on the next one.